I mean, that was some performance. I'm not going to go too far ahead and say that Pep is back, but this was more like it. This was what we'd come to expect from a Pep Guardiola team. Kind of. It's what we'd expect from a Pep Guardiola team in terms of domination and overall control of the game and the quality of the passing and movement qualities that were displayed within it. But there were differences and there were tweaks and there were signs that Pep is adapting, considering he gets called this boring, predictable manager, that he plays this certain style and it limits individuals within it, which A, has just never been true anyway, but B, shows that he is willing to adjust and adapt into a time when maybe he isn't the complete trendsetter that he has been maybe for the last 15 years, while still maintaining the qualities that he has and what has made his football so spectacular over this period. And it was complete and utter domination. Juve did not have an answer for him, and City, I thought, were just excellent. There were so many fantastic and fascinating parts of it that really made it stand out. Recruitment helped. We've seen Reinders and Aït-Nouri start the game. 2 new signings from Man City this summer and have shown their qualities already within this team. Cherki came off the bench, thought he had a good cameo. We've seen improvements in the performances from the likes of Bernardo Silva, Jeremy Doku, Savinho, Phil Foden when he came off the bench as well. Also, I think we're seeing the new era of Pep Guardiola, and I think it's one that the rest of the Premier League should be worried about. I think it's one that the rest of Europe should be very worried about. Still think there are a couple players off, but if they can get those players, the football's in trouble. Football's in trouble. I think it's Pep back at the top, in my personal opinion. But we'll go over the Juve attacking play first and see how City adapted off the ball. So Juve built up in their back three formation that would turn into a back four sometimes, with Kalulu moving up into a sort of typical right-back position. We know he's got history playing in that position, so in that right centre-back role, it gives them freedom to perform that role pretty easily. Kelly and Savona as the 2 centre-backs. Kostic moving up into a left-back / left wing-back position. Costa moving up very high on this right-hand side, with Koopmeiners and Locatelli as the pivots, Gonzalez and McKennie just off of Vlahovic. And City went with a hybrid of the man-to-man and the zonal that would adapt depending on how Juve tried to play out. And that would be, I also haven't put a football on this pitch, there we go, that's an essential part of a game of football. And as you can see here, it would be with the front 3 going on those wide centre-backs, but the 2 players that don't have markers are the wing-backs for Juventus, and that would be where City would adapt depending on the direction of play. And typically, because of the way that the back 3 is lined up for Juve, they'd favour the right-hand side. And City had that really well covered. Couldn't play through the centre due to Silva and Reinders. Also having Rodri perform that shielding role just gave him an extra level of protection. With the wide 10s as well, it means they weren't maintaining width high and wide, that they could go direct from goal kicks efficiently, really, from these areas. So it would be with Savinho coming in from Kelly, pressing to Di Gregorio, who would then have to play it onto his right foot to start playing it around the corner to whomever just was available at that time. And obviously Marmoush and Doku pressing onto the wide centre-backs. But then once the ball was shaped up to go to the right-hand side with Di Gregorio, you'd get Aït-Nouri, who originally was narrow, sitting on Gonzalez in this wide 10 position, with Núñez doing the same on the far side with McKennie. Diaz and Akanji sort of managing Vlahovic at a 2-on-1, so that wasn't a threat that Juve could utilise. Not that he is much of a threat when he's not in the box. Vlahovic is a pretty poor all-round player. This gave Aït-Nouri the opportunity to move from Gonzalez to Costa to block that passing lane from becoming a threat, with Akanji moving on to Gonzalez and Diaz onto Vlahovic solely. You'd still get Rodri as that shielding role, occupying the centre of the pitch, locking off space, opening up. And with the ball being on this far side, with City locking them in, it meant that they couldn't really get the time and space to produce a long switch of play to Kostic on the far side. He was the spare man, but there was no real way they were getting the ball over to him with any real quality that City couldn't react to. And City pressed well. They were aggressive anytime the ball went through the centre of the pitch. They pressed well, and this is more like a pressing performance. Off the ball last season, they were dreadful, as bad as we've ever seen them. In this game, excellent. Aggressive, energetic, and Juve did try and find different ways to play out. One of those would be with Locatelli moving into the defensive line to help progress the ball, and what you then saw there was Silva coming up to press him, maybe from Koopmeiners, and moving into that defensive line and getting against him. Reinders making sure he was covering. You could also get the opposite, but it would be with Bernardo Silva getting into that forward line, just so you could still maintain Reinders' energy levels in the middle of the pitch should they be needed, because he has that quality. Juve then could also look to drop Weston McKennie into the midfield area as well to help progress the ball forward. Rodri would then go from a shielding role to then pressing onto McKennie, which you had the freedom to do now because it was just the front two essentially that was behind him. Vlahovic and Gonzalez, who would then easily sort of marked out of the game, especially if the ball was on the right hand side. Nunes could tuck in while maintaining position to Kostic. Diaz and Akanji could go 2 for 2, and to be fair, those front two for Juve were not in the game at all anyway. Vlahovic obviously took his goal well in the second half, but Gonzalez was just a really anonymous performance. And to be fair to Locatelli, he did use his passing range well to get the ball forward. He's got a really just lovely view of the pitch. His vision is fantastic, so he did get joy and he did manage to get the ball out of his feet to play passes forward, but not often enough, and it wasn't really anything that worried City. Even with Di Gregorio being the extra man, City jump pressed really well from the players in close proximity. The one place that Juve did get a bit of luck was going in behind, and now they didn't have a lot of option in terms of the transitional throughout with the lack of pace they had on the pitch. But with City being pushed up so high, if say a Koopmeiners got free or a McKennie, and then all of a sudden runners could start going in behind, they could find those angles. Aït-Nouri got caught a couple times playing high and getting caught in between positions. He's still not amazing defensively, Aït-Nouri, as good as he was in this game. Capitalising on Diaz, who's obviously not the most mobile. Akanji's had a lot of injuries and it seems to have affected his yard of pace. Ederson, as always, though, was ready to sweep off of his line for any ball that went in behind, and he's excellent. It's a key component to playing with such a high line, and that's one quality that you can't doubt Ederson with, is his distribution and his ability to sweep off of his line. He's fantastic at it. And so, as much as it was an issue, it wasn't really detrimental to what City ended up doing in the game. A bit of quality when Yildiz come on that left-hand side, that he could turn inside and link up with Vlahovic, and a lovely assist. And it was the one thing that really carved City open. Other than that, City pressed brilliantly. Ederson dealt with dangers over the top, and it was a really fantastic defensive display. I'd say the best we've seen in well over a year from this Man City team. The centre was covered. Rodri being back in the team as that defensive presence, shielding role, is so crucial. Not that we ever thought it wouldn't be, but just to see it in action, you forget sometimes. And it was easy done on this side, as much as they conceded 2 goals. But now we'll go on to City on the ball, which is, I think, where it gets a little bit more interesting. Now, City lined up in a 2-1-2-5, I guess, with the centre-backs as you were. Rodri as the pivot, Reinders and Silva just in front of Rodri in a sort of typical midfield 3. Doku and Savinho coming into the attacking midfield positions from the wide areas, with the fullbacks for City supplying the width, Nunes and Aït-Nouri, with Marmoush as the striker. And Juve matched that by going man-to-man all over the pitch. They'd have Vlahovic dropping into Rodri, not the best presser, Vlahovic. Gonzalez and Koopmeiners going on to the 2 centre-backs, with Locatelli and McKennie moving on to the 2-8s. And the back 5 for Juve matching the front 5 for City. Now, where City got a bit of joy early on was Juve weren't looking to press Ederson. They were leaving him as the free man, weren't even shadowing a press from their original marker to go close him down. So he was allowed to carry the ball up. And with the nature of this central congestion for City, it's not static, it's very fluid, so there's a lot of moving parts. Diaz can maybe drop in a little bit to drag Koopmeiners away. This then creates the space for Bernardo Silva in here. Maybe then Rodri will move over here to just find little bits of pockets of space. And it's not so much about making space for themselves to receive the ball. So let's just say if Rodri makes a quick little movement off of Vlahovic and Ederson finds that ball in, Rodri can turn and play forward. It's about creating space elsewhere. So let's just say with this space created between Vlahovic and Locatelli, this can then create the space for Reinders to run into and carry the ball forward. Or even Savinho moving into this position here to receive it off of Lloyd Kelly, and Doku off of Kalulu, who weren't always keen to engage their markers. As much as wide centre-backs need to do it, it's a crucial part of pressing in a back 3. They did let him go sometimes. They did seem to allow him to have too much space in between the defence and midfield line for whatever reason. And so if the angles were found and Ederson could find that ball into Savinho, into Doku, which we know he has the quality to do, then City could get the ball in these areas, they'd be in business. Costly a little bit, Ederson. He was at fault for the first goal. Real poor pass that he attempted into Silva, and he gave the ball away and caused Juve to score. When you play the way that City do, when you play the way that Ederson does, mistakes are going to happen. I don't think it's that big of a deal. It's a poor error, but I feel like he more than made up for it in this game. His passing, generally, apart from that one moment, was sublime. Mistakes are going to happen. When you play out like this, they're just going to happen. That is a fact of it. Also, one player I thought was excellent in these build-up phases was Bernardo Silva. His ability to receive the ball under pressure, take it away from his marker, to then move with the ball out of his original zone, to find angles, committing maybe another man forward. Gonzalez coming into this position here that he could then find the ball over to Akanji, who now has a lot more space. Maybe Locatelli reacts and then this creates space for Reinders and he can play the ball forward. But a lot of that stemmed from Bernardo Silva moving away from his marker and using his quality to carry the ball away and create space that he could find and cause City to gain advantage and gain territory with that extra man advantage. Might be a bit too premature to say back to his best, but this is Bernardo Silva at his best. I thought he was thoroughly excellent. And maybe it's the captaincy, maybe it's the fact that he's got a bit of added responsibility now there's no De Bruyne. It feels like it's his role to step up into as that experienced leader in the attacking sense. Full credit to him. I thought he was absolutely excellent. And another way that City could get forward as well was the extreme verticality of this front three, with Savinho and Doku and their movements and their ability to pull the wide centre-backs apart. Savinho and Doku dropping in, testing how far Kalulu and Kelly are willing to come, to then create space for the movements of Marmoush into this area if City could find the ball long. Going down, Marmoush using his movement and his link-up play to find the runs around, and City just wouldn't sit and admire it. So once they got the ball into that attacking area of the pitch, it would be pacey, it would be direct. And it also increased when Erling Haaland came on. I thought Haaland was excellent. His hold-up play, his touch was as good as it's ever been. And they went long a lot, City, with all this talk of playing out from the back and passing to the centre-backs. I don't know how many times Ederson went long to Haaland in that second half, but it felt frequent, and Haaland made the most of it with every time, using his physicality to wrestle with the defender, to physically beat him, to get hold of the ball and lay it off, and get the likes of Savinho and Doku and the wing-backs running on, and even Reinders coming up from deep, and Silva was excellent. I think this could be a season where Haaland's not just judged on his goals, it's that as well. And considering he's going to be the focal point with more direct play, just shows how much Pep is willing to adapt. But before Haaland, there would be a lot more fluidity within that front three with Doku and Savinho, and Marmoush as well, with maybe Marmoush dropping, Doku and Savinho moving on to the last line against the wider centre-backs, with then Savona engaging into Marmoush. It can be any variation. You typically found Doku in this area here, receiving it as a 10, using his dribbling ability to find angles and create runs and progress with the ball forward, to then beat his marker, get around him, to drive at that defence, causing other players to commit, where he could then find the runs of his fellow attackers. Using this direct dribbling threat is going to be key in these transitional moments. Combine that with Haaland, and then you're throwing the likes of Marmoush, Savinho, Cherki, Foden. Ooh, mama, that's pretty smexy, that. So, you can see all the ways that City managed to get the ball forward and progress it, but what were they like in their main attacking shape? Well, we'll see now. Juve sat really deep in their 5 at the back formation, allowing City to move up, pretty much allowing everyone to move up into that third, with Akanji, Aït-Nouri and Diaz. And Aït-Nouri would tuck into the back 3 now. He'd go from being the source of width on the left-hand side to being a deeper player in here, allowing that base to have a bit more solidity to it and have a bit of better quality in the rest defence. Doku would be the width on the left-hand side, and it would be with Savinho and Marmoush as typical strikers, or one being the typical striker and Savinho maybe moving into the attacker midfield position, with Bernardo Silva and Tiani Reinders, and really overloading those central areas, and the connection with Diaz, Rodri and Aït-Nouri as well, with them being so close, was key. There was angles everywhere. There was just complete, overwhelming majority for City in these areas to find passes, and the way they move and the way they play the ball and the way they ride under pressure to find space and manoeuvre around their markers is fantastic. Doku in these situations as well was brilliant. Aït-Nouri providing underlapping runs as well from these positions to assist him was key, whether that's to receive the ball on the underlap or allow Doku to move inside, where he caused all sorts of issues. was excellent. Those two have already shown a bit of quality with their link-up play. There's a little bit of chemistry there that could be deadly for other teams. Both have got qualities with and without the ball that's going to make it hard for a team to deal with. You have to be switched on. The moment you switch off and you give a little bit of space, you're done. Also, I thought Reindeers was quality. I think this guy is exceptional. His quality in build-up and in the possession play, which City have been famed for, is clear to see. He was excellent. His movement is fantastic. Just his ability to find space, to drag markers away, making little runs like this. Let's say if Dockie's on the ball here, to not just receive the ball. It's not just always about maybe the ball coming into him that he can then get a shot away off on goal. It's dragging markers away that creates space for someone else. So let's say Reindeers making this movement, gives Marmouche that extra bit of space, or he makes that movement, the player covers around, and that ball can go into Savinho. It's creating space somewhere that City can exploit. And his ability to receive the ball in these areas, to not just get a shot away, but also link up with his teammates, making movements into attacking areas or just off of him. Let's say if Doku finds that pass, Aït-Nouri can make this movement, Reindeers can lay it off, and City have a clearer chance. As a result, is excellent. It's the wide overloads, it's the central overload, it's the fluidity that still exists within this, of players taking up positions. And that, when you've got such a double-edged threat of transitional quality and possession-based quality, that's not easy to deal with. And I'll nail my colours to the mast early on. I think it's City's Premier League this year. I think Pep back at his best with a point to prove. And he's having to rebuild this team that feels like the third phase, really, of Pep City. And I think with the quality that he has coming back, with Rodri being fit, with players getting back into form like Ruben Diaz, Bernardo Silva, Doku maybe levelling up, Marmouche, signings that he'll make as well, Cherky coming back in, Foden's looked alright in the Club World Cup so far. I think this season, not if there was ever any doubt, but I think this season cements Pep as maybe the best of all time. I genuinely think we could be seeing something special with this team. But I'd love to know what you guys think. Cheers, lads. In a bit.